Trey, would you like to come up and light the candles? What distinguishes the candle from other lights is that it appeals to our soul, not our eyes.
Would you get the microphone closer to your mouth?
How's that? Better? Welcome to the First Extensions Congregation of Atlanta's Celebration of Life. My name is Jan Lister, and I will be your facilitator today. And our musician today is the wonderful Nick Kenny. And it's time for our opening congregational song. It's the Hammer Song, page 68 in your peak books. early teenager, I used to listen to Peter, Paul, and Mary all the time. I would pretend I was married and to be married parts. That was what my dream was, to be married. We are a philosophically based spiritual community dedicated to human liberation and founded on existentialist and feminist principles. By existentialist principles, we mean that we are what we do in the world, and we accept responsibility for our choices and our actions. By feminist principles, we mean that we accept and actively support freedom and justice for every person. We support diversity as a source of strength, and we actively include everyone. And we are not going to get rid of our DEI status. We like diversity. We make our spiritual home in the old stone church, which was hand-built 100 years ago by the African-American Antioch East Baptist Church. And we honor their labors of love and the powerful history of this very special place, which was deliberately and quite cruelly taken away from them. We acknowledge that our spiritual home stands on land forcibly taken from the Muskogee Creek people, and we support justice and equality for all Indigenous people. Okay, at this time I'd like to remind you to turn off any electronics that you might have, or put them on silent. And if you have any community announcements, please write them down and bring them up to me, and I will announce them shortly. Pen and paper is available on that back table. We also have something new, apparently something to help you hear better. Andy, you want to explain these things to us? I personally couldn't figure out how it worked, but maybe one of you can. We have a new assisted hearing system with museum-style devices with ear-lock loops. You're welcome to try it out. They are available at the welcome table. And if you have any questions, see Andy for details. Thank you, Andy. I couldn't figure out how to work it, but maybe somebody here can. Also, feel free to move around sanctuary if you need to do so during the service. But please do it quietly so as not to disturb others. We have coffee and tea in the kitchen at the back, and a bathroom near the front entrance. And I forgot my water. Do we have any water? I've got some in my car. I just forgot. There's also a bathroom downstairs, so far right as you go downstairs. Our speaker today is our own lovely Sara. His topic is, love Sara, love your people, with an emphasis on staying connected with loved ones, even through times of despair. I have to say that I think I need to hear this lately. I've fallen victim to all the distractions and disappointments and bad news I've been hearing, and I've become deeply concerned about the state of our nation. I could easily fall into despair. But I've been trying very hard to keep things in perspective and focus on things I can actually do something about. As I get older, I find it gets easier to neglect those people and things that I've always relied on and been attached to. And being the introvert that I am, I know a lot of people don't believe that, but I tell you, I would be fine if I never had to leave my home again. I don't do social media because it's just tedious to me, frankly. I don't care that a person I'm in high school with has a new cat. I'm never the much of a phone talker. When I call someone, it's usually for a specific purpose, and then I hang up. But again, as I've gotten older, I've done a lot of thinking about being more involved in the lives of the people I love, and I'm making efforts to contact people, to call someone for no reason other than to say, hello. I don't want to be forgotten. And it occurs to me that I'm the only one in charge of making sure that that doesn't happen. And I want the people I love to know how much I love them. So I'm interested in hearing what Sara has to say today about keeping connected with the people you love, especially during these most trying times. While I was looking for quotes for today's service, I ran across some from Anne Frank. She wasn't always positive. She certainly had reasons to despair. God, if anybody did, she did. She was just a teenage girl writing what she felt, and she was actually quite brilliant, especially considering her age. I've always admired her ability to see the light through the darkness and despair. So almost all the quotes I use today will be from Anne Frank, but not all. And these are the first. I found that there is always some food left in nature, sunshine, freedom, in yourself. These can all help you. Riches, prestige, anything can be lost. But the happiness in your own heart can only be dimmed. It will always be there as long as you live to make you happy again. Okay, you'd like to take this moment to recognize any newcomers. You may be here for your first or second newcomers that maybe are here for the first or second time. Anybody new? No? Oh, that's too bad. Okay, so now it's time for us to celebrate anyone who is present, who may be celebrating a milestone, such as an anniversary or a birthday, or just a special occasion. Oh, I thought it was going to be Nick for a minute. Trey, come on. Is it your birthday? I'm sorry?
It was my birthday on March 16th.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
On March 16th. It was my birthday.
You're a bird, you're a bird. Sweet 15 in this. At least I'm guessing. I've got to keep it. Okay, at this time I'd like to ask our fellowship minister, Marcia Mitchner, to please come up and give us some of her words of wisdom.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Nice to see you all on this rainy day. Last night I enjoyed the opportunity to participate in a small event that was
Loud.
you can't hear?
No.
Just talk louder.
Just talk louder. Huh. Okay. There was an event last night that was to talk about the history of the LGBTQIA plus community here in Atlanta. And I was there to represent First D and talk about what First D's history is with the community. And in the process of doing that, it reminded me. Oh, you were talking to me. Okay. That how incredible this our community is, because one of the things that I talked about, since I was talking about history, was to remind, to talk about that back in the late 80s and the early 90s, that we were one of the few places in Atlanta where people with HIV/AIDS were welcome. And how we were warm and welcoming and even offered to provide memorial services and offered our land as a place to scatter ashes. And so many people that had HIV/AIDS were shunned and ostracized and demonized by their family, by the places of employment, by their community. And so it was wonderful to be a respite, for people to be able to come. And like I said, in thinking about that, I always tell you how much I love this place. But it really reminded me about the depth of the way that we act on what we say we believe when we talk about what our basic principles are. And so I hope that you, when you go out there in the world, that you talk about us, that you don't have to proselytize. I'm not asking you to do that. But, to invite people, to come and experience who we are. Because I think that there are certainly other organizations, other congregations out there that are open and welcoming. But I think that, I want people to come and to feel the kind of energy and warmth and love and support that you can get, here from this community. And that goes for each one of you, because you don't have to have some kind of dramatic, horrible disease or, a terrible event in your life, to want to have support and care. So, pick up the phone and call a friend, or like you were saying, or call me up. I've got a good ear, so who knows? So please, just be aware. I hope that you feel in your heart, what an important place that we're sitting in, and what it means to you and to the community as a whole. Thank you very much.
I can testify that Marcia does indeed have a good ear. I've called her on several occasions just to vent a little bit, or just get just to feel better. Is it hot in here? Is it just me? Is it just me? Okay, it's now time for our silent meditation.
Community announcements.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Just totally. It's a good thing we have people out there that, how I'm supposed to be doing. Okay. Anyone for going to the Flying Biscuit after COL? 5th Sunday trip to a choice restaurant. So who do we contact if anybody wants to go? Mary?
Susan, are you going? You going? Anyway, it's kind of hatched between the two of us.
Okay. So see Mary or
You're
Susan?
also on DeKalb Avenue.
The one on DeKalb Avenue?
Near the MARTA station.
Near the MARTA station?
Near the MARTA station.
Near the Cameron Park MARTA station?
Uh-huh.
Is the one just right, oh, that's McClendon. I didn't know there was one on DeKalb Avenue.
It's not a Clifton. It moved.
Oh, it moved? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, it's on DeKalb Avenue near the MARTA station.
The old radio cafe.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, this coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 8 p.m., Deacon Dance will present Moving Bodies, Moving Hearts, Moving Minds, and a concert of 5 new dance works. It's free. And see Patton for more information. If you've ever seen Patton dance, it's just such an experience. It's just lovely. When he danced, you just touched my heart so much. Okay. Any more community announcements? All right. It is now time for, oh, yes.
I sort of had a community announcement. When I was coming in, I noticed a woman coming across the street who looked very familiar. It was Carol Stewart, Robert's widow. I was coming in, and another woman was coming in, and it was Carol Stewart, who was Robert Stewart's widow, I guess is the only way you can say it. She's in the process of moving to Florida to be with Will, who now has 2 children, a son and a little girl. So she's going to go down there. But anyway, she's cleaning out her house, and she brought all kinds of goodies that Robert used to write letters to and send cards and things like that. It's certainly good to see her. She looks good, and she's looking forward to being down there with Will and the kid and the grandchildren.
Thank you, Carol, for letting us know. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. I'm happy she's moving to be with her son and her grandkids. Yeah, I bet.
Right on the beach, correct. And she's got a swimming pool in her house.
Oh, well.
In her house?
I'll move down with her.
Yeah.
Okay, now it's time for our silent meditation. We have candles on either side of the sanctuary. If you want to light one for a loved one, or you can just sit and reflect. Feel free to get up, and if you do, please be cognizant of your fellow congregation of silent time. And I will ding the bell when the time is up.
I got so damn trouble. I nearly lost my head. Started waking in the morning, filled with sadness, filled with dread. The world I took for granted came crashing to the ground. And I realized that I might not live long enough to ever see it turn around. But then I got to
daughter's working today. But, so it was really cool to see that. Our featured speaker today is Sara Drew. Sara serves as outreach coordinator at First B. And among other things, she's also a Reiki master, hospital chaplain, and Unitarian Universalist ministerial candidate, working on her doctorate degree at the university's Cameron School of Theology. Her current academic work centers on compassion and hospitality, and how we might take better care of each other. And I just want to say that I really like when Sara speaks, because she's young, and she brings a great perspective to, and yet she's just wise. Her wisdom traces her years, and she always has something just wonderful to say. So I'm so happy to welcome Sara Drew.
It's true. Like that. How's the sound? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Thought I would just come straight out clean to start with and tell you that how I come up with what I'm going to say, usually. Usually I think of what I'll say when I get up here, and I imagine all of you, like you are right now, looking at me. And I think of just how thoughtful and experienced and smart you are, and I try to think of what could I offer? You know, what does humble little me have to say that might be thought-provoking or interesting or entertaining? And so usually I think, what is my unique experience right in this moment? And what occurred to me this time when I was deciding is that I've been hearing myself repeat myself lately. And that always, is a red flag, right? Oh, something's there, right? I keep saying this same thing over and over to different people. And not to the same people, luckily. When I go into a hospital room to talk to the patient, and there's other people in there, right? Family members, friends, neighbors, whoever it is, I am just so excited to see them, because I know that, and I'll even say it to them, I'll say, it's my job to provide spiritual and emotional care to patients in the hospital, but there's just nothing that I could do that is more impactful or supportive than having their people with them. And so I always extend my gratitude to those people, because there's just nothing more helpful, nothing more uplifting, nothing more caring and supportive that a person can have, in my opinion. And so I've been thinking about that, that's a very specific situation. Hopefully that we'll have not very many opportunities to engage. And so if that's so obvious in that one situation, then how might we use it to inspire us in regular life? And I was reminded of a friend who really loved this quote from Mother Teresa. And Mother Teresa famously said, I wonder if you've heard this, if you want to bring peace to the whole world, go home and love your family. Have you heard that quote before? No? Okay. If you want to bring peace to the whole world, go home and love your family. I might have this connection because I have this friend that was really connected to it. Which I think is a helpful concept, right? Because it's something you can do. It's something you have in your capabilities, right? When the world is overwhelming, as it seems to be, especially right now, going home and loving your family seems like something that's in my realm of possibility, right? Because it can feel really helpless to feel like you can make any contribution to shifting, like the cruel white supremacist wave of hate that's seemingly coming always, very present and nerve-wracking. And even if I do come up with some action to take in some way to counter that ugliness, it can feel so small. What really could this little thing possibly do, right? But going home and loving your family, maybe your genetic family, or maybe who you have decided is your family, seems doable. And we can imagine that Mother Teresa might have thought that if everyone went home and loved their family, that a positive shift would take place, right? All of those people and all of those families would then be in the world and full of love, and in whatever way they were interacting, they would, start this other wave of love and goodness. That does sound nice. I always thought, though, that it was a curious thing for Mother Teresa to have said, because while she might have famously said, go home and love your family, she actually did not go home and love her family, right? That's like the opposite of what she was doing in this world. She was out there loving people who maybe had no families, who maybe were the most destitute, or the most needy, were the most sick. Most of us know the story of the work of Mother Teresa because it happened in our lifetimes. And so I'll just make 2 more points about her. She was a high school history teacher and then a high school principal before the Mother Teresa's work with the poor and the sick that we know. And she was riding a train one day, and she thought that she reported that Jesus came to tell her to go work with the sick and the poor, and to be among them, to be one of them. I think that's sort of an interesting way to think of this quote. But that was the one thing that I wanted to say. And the other B is that she probably actually never said that, which is also interesting. And makes sense of why she said that and she didn't actually do that, right? What she might have said that was eventually misconstrued to the other thing is, if you want to bring peace to the whole world, go home. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the misconstrued one. If you want to bring peace to the whole world, go home and love your family. But it seems as though this is what was misconstrued into that. There are a few lines of her Nobel Peace Prize acceptance speech in 1979. The real quote is, "And so my prayer for you is that truth will bring prayer in our homes, and the fruit of prayer will be what we believe, that in the poor it is Christ. And if we really believe, we will begin to love. And if we love naturally, we will try to do something." So you can see why this was abridged. First in our own home, then our next door neighbor, in the country we live, in the whole world. So it's sort of a abridgment of that. You can still see the sort of like evolution of like, do what's in front of you, and that will have this ripple effect out into the world. And I have a diverse religious background, and I went to a Christian seminary, so I feel like for myself, I have like a good spiritual and religious language translator in my head, so I can take, something that doesn't really apply to me maybe, and see if I can put it through my more universalist lens, and see if I can make it work for me. And so my translation for Mother Teresa is, if we have reverence for our own life and our own people in our own lives, and we treat them with that reverence, and then they treat life with reverence, and they treat us with reverence, then that is the ripple that I see. It's this reverence, right? This just innate understanding of ourselves, that we are important, that we are worthy, that we deserve care, and that this is where it goes back to Mother Teresa, in that recognition of our important humanity, that we see that important humanity in other people, and we treat them accordingly, right? Perhaps that's selfish, right? Because it's really focused on myself. But I am in this moment choosing to attribute it to Dharma. I've talked about Dharma before. Dharma is like my favorite and most impactful spiritual concept, is most dear to me. a Hindu philosophy that urges us to do what we are individually meant to do, right? Like who are you and what are you here for? And that might change in every moment, but it is very well rooted in your individual interests, in your individual care for yourself and others. And I always say, people, especially in the United States, will get caught up in this dharma idea and think it means it equals a career, right? Like my dharma is to be a firefighter, right? Like when you ask like a little kid, what are you going to be when you grow up? Like that's often what dharma sort of distills to in the United States, but it's not quite that, right? It's what you're meant to do, what your true self wants. And so you say when XYZ evil character that we can all pull up a long list of, right? The XYZ long list, like that's never dharma, right? That's never like greed and power is never dharma. Dharma is always divine. And so if we can connect to that divinity within ourselves, that reverence for ourselves, then that's the ripple effect. I think that I can translate Mother Teresa into having understood or been connected to. And that's the connection I feel is really important, that we see ourselves as ourselves, and we see that as divinely inspired, and we see that in other people, and we treat them accordingly. But that still sort of leaves me in this limbo of, okay, so that sounds like all lofty and academic, but what can I do, right? That go home and love your family was like very present, right? That was like cooking dinner, right? Like that's something I can easily do, but if I have this like reverence and dharma and these like loftier sort of ideals, like what does that boil down to? And I was reminded of Adrienne Maree Brown. And Adrienne Maree Brown has written a book called Emergent Strategy. And Emergent Strategy, it was published in 2017, is a sort of way to look at humanity as a body of nature. Does that make sense? So if you think of like a flock of birds and a group of people, in which ways are the birds likely to act to take care of themselves and each other that humans are not, right? Like in what ways have we like decided that we're humans and we know everything and we're not really acting in accordance with nature? And in what ways can we strategize to take better care of people, right? Because there's no selfish birds. Birds don't have that sort of I am for myself. They have more of a group think mentality. And I'm just using birds as an example, but all animals that live in groups would act the same way. Adrienne Maree Brown herself is an activist and writer. She's inspired by science fiction, which is really cool, and the ways in which it offers us ideas to creatively problem solve, right? So she tries not to be bound by the limits of what we have already created. She wants to incorporate these like ideas that seem like pie in the sky, daydream ideas into our day-to-day life. And so that's where this like nature and science fiction meet, is where this emergent strategy comes from. And so there are 9 principles of emergent strategy that I want to share with you. The first one is, small is good, small is all. The large is a reflection of the small. So that takes me back to Mother Teresa's maybe fake quote, that if we can go home and love our family, that those ripple effects will happen, right? So what can I do? I can do the next right thing, right? I don't have to think of like the 10 million things I'll have to do after that. Just the next right thing, the next kindness is the thing that I have to do. And that will set me on a path. And that principle of emergent strategy has saved my life before, because it can be very overwhelming to think of like all that is wrong. But if you can just cloud out that overwhelmingness and focus on the next right thing, and then the next right thing, and then the next right thing, you can, I have, in my experience, gotten myself out of some situations. The next principle is change is constant, be like water, which I really love. That reminds me of Patton and dancing, right? Change is constant, be like water. In which ways can we move, even in our thought processes, which ways can we move to sort of adapt and not fight against something that is not fightable, right? Number 3 is there is always enough time for the right work. There is always enough time for the right work. And in my own attempts to become anti-racist, I have done a lot of work around the ways in which white supremacy harms everyone, including white people, right? And this is one that, focusing on this facet of white supremacy has really changed my life also. There is always enough time for the right work. Urgency is a method, a tool of white supremacy, right? Everything does not need to be done this second. If we need to take time to do something well, then we should take time to do something well. This go capitalist enterprise is in opposition with nature, right? The 4th one, there is a conversation in the room that only these people at this moment can have, find it. There's a conversation in the room that only these people at this moment can have, find it. And I've been keeping that one in my mind this morning as I was preparing to talk, because there's a conversation only these people in the room can have, find it. And I was thinking about the fire on the stage, and I was thinking about the car alarm going off in the outside, during the silent time, and I was thinking wow, just we're just sort of it's just yeah, it's loud, right? The world is loud. The world is fighting for our attention. What does that mean, right? What is that signal to us? I don't have an answer for that, obviously, but it's just an interesting way to be, right? To pick up these little signals and imagine that there is a reason, not that we have to give this grand plan reason to everything. It could just be, a fluke, but to consider those things as potentially information that might be something that gives us some information about ourselves or about the world is really interesting. The next principle is never a failure, always a lesson. So that really speaks, in my mind, to the release of shame, right? You're not a failure. You're not doing something wrong. If you have intention that you're working out, then it's a lesson. Can we look through that lens? Can we find the learning opportunity in things rather than thinking that something is bad or wrong immediately? Just a few more. Trust the people. If you trust the people, they become trustworthy, which is really interesting. The next one, move at the speed of trust. Focus on critical connections more than critical mass. So all of that, my supervisor this last week said, in this moment, I'm really thoughtful about the dynamics of trust. And so I've been thinking about that. In what ways do we trust each other? In which ways do we not? In which ways do we extend trust to each other? In which ways do we show that? Those sorts of things. And then this one is really poignant for me. Less prep, more presence. So when you think about preparing what I'm going to say today, right? Writing down every word, and then how much do I stick to that, and how much do I invite in the room, right? Or the experience, or the ways my thoughts have changed since I wrote this down. Less prep, more presence. Can we let go of that need? And for me, that's like a perfectionist is driving that need to prep everything, right? So you might consider that. And then lastly, and perhaps my favorite, what you pay attention to grows. What you pay attention to grows. So if you pay attention to, for me, this really strikes home. Like if I watch the news all the time, that's where my mind goes, that everything's going wrong, everything's bad, everything's sad, right? And I don't want to stick my head in the sand. I don't want to not know that the entire country of Chile is suffering for 3 weeks. And also, I need to measure that with my capacity to maintain a positive thought process in light of that, right? And so I need to be really careful about balancing that, because what I pay attention to grows. And so I really love those. Those have guided me since 2017 when that book came out. And I sort of return to them every time things seem overwhelming and wonder what they might offer to me in this moment. And I might just add my thoughts about Mother Teresa and reverence as my own 10th principle, right? That if we can be reverent of our own selves, recognize that whatever we want to offer other people, we have to be able to offer ourselves first. Then I would add that as my little humble 10th principle, because if we can't be reverent of our own lives, we can't offer it to somebody else. If we can't be authentic with ourselves, we can't offer it to anybody else. If we can't love ourselves, then we can't love somebody else. So I think that's the very first place to start. And I really appreciate you all being with me this morning. I wonder if we might just, in response to the wildness going on around us, if we might just take 3 breaths together. You might sit really intentionally, close your eyes if that's comfortable, and breathe deeply now that the pollen has been somewhat thwarted by the rain. Just take 3 steady, slow breaths in and out. As you feel ready, you can come back to the room. Thank you so much.
It was actually kind of funny. I went out to get my water from my car, and right when I pushed my key, the car across the way started beeping. And it was like, wait a minute. That's not my car. The real lady was like, are you doing something to that car? I'm like, I don't know. Is my key controlling that other car? No, it wasn't. But it was just fun at the time.
I have somebody coming this afternoon to disconnect my water.
Sarah made me think about something as family. People like me, I don't have any family in Atlanta. I really have very little family anyway. So family for me are my friends and you guys. And it's just as much my family as my real family, maybe more so, because I see you guys and talk to you guys even more. So I think we need to, when we look at the word family, we need to take it into perspective. So thank you for that, Sarah. And I just gotta say this one more thing, because you sort of mentioned his name, but didn't. And I found out something this morning that just kind of shocked me concerning the man whose name I shall not utter. We've been letting go of people, or he's been letting go of people people are losing their jobs. And in the 2 months that he's been president, we've spent $260 million funding his golf games. His golf outings. I know, it makes you sick, doesn't it? Okay, sorry about that. Sorry, you lost my face. Okay, before we have our closing remarks, we have our closing congregational song, which is page 114 in the Pink Book. Let's get together.
Love is but the song we sing, and is the way we die. You can make the mountains ring, or make the angels cry. Know the dove is on the wing, and you need not know why. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, start to love one another right now. Those who come and some will go, and we shall surely pass. When the one who left us here return for us at last. We are ark of moment sunlight, walking on the grass. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, start to love one another right now. Heard the song I sing, then you must understand. You hold the key to love and fear, all in your trembling hand. Once he unlocks them both to know, and it's a joy command. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, start to love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on each other, everybody get together, start to love one another right now.
I'd like to invite you to attend our celebration of life next Sunday. My speaker will be Reverend Phoenix Bell Shelton-Biggs, who will speak about resistance and resilience, a call to courage in times of crisis, which I think is really important right now. And I'd like to thank our wonderful musician, Nick, for sitting down. And a couple more quotes, two of which are not from Anne Frank. Man's nature is not essentially evil. Brute nature has been known to yield to the influence of love. You must never despair of human nature. And and that's from Mahatma Gandhi. My friends, love is better than anger, hope is better than fear, optimism is better than despair. So let us be loving, hopeful, and optimistic, and we'll change the world. And that's from Jack Layton. We cannot despair of humanity since we ourselves are human beings. From Albert Einstein, I love that one. And one more from Anne Frank. I've said this one before. It's a wonder I haven't abandoned all my ideals. They seem so absurd and impractical. Yet I cling to them because I still believe, in spite of everything, that people are truly good at heart. Thank you for coming today. See you next week.